He rips the dress off his pregnant ex-wife in the middle of his own wedding, and the entire ballroom erupts as she falls to the floor, clutching her stomach. Phones record everything, guests scream, and the man who thought he was untouchable is seconds away from watching his perfect life collapse. Because the moment her ally walks through those doors, the wedding turns into a battlefield of truth, power, and unforgiving justice. You will not believe what happens next. Drop a comment below so we can talk about it. The chandeliers inside the Royal Grand Madrid Hotel glow like suspended suns, spilling warm gold across the ballroom as if blessing a perfect celebration. Violins play softly. Crystal flutes ring gently with every toast. Rows of white orchids line the aisle. Guests in designer gowns lean forward in admiration as Adrián Rivera, the powerful CEO with a spotless tuxedo and a smile engineered for magazine covers, walks hand in hand with his new bride, Isabella Duarte. Everything is so precise, so painfully beautiful, it looks rehearsed. It feels like the world is witnessing a fairy tale. Until the doors open. A soft hush rolls through the room when Valeria appears. She stands at the entrance with one hand resting gently on her 6-month pregnant belly. Her midnight blue satin dress catches the chandelier light and shimmers like liquid night. The off-shoulder neckline frames her collarbones with quiet grace. She does not look like someone who came to cause trouble. She looks like someone who should not have been here. Someone who, by every unwritten rule, should have stayed far away from her ex-husband's wedding. But someone in the groom's family sent her an invitation. A cruel mistake, a trap, or something worse. Whispers erupt immediately. Guests twist in their chairs. Camera phones rise out of reflex. Isabella's grip tightens around Adrián's arm. Her perfect smile wavers. Valeria steps forward. Her movements are calm but fragile, as if each breath requires effort. She clearly rehearsed how to walk into this room without falling apart. Her dark, straight hair is parted neatly in the center, framing her face like an unspoken apology to herself. She came dressed with dignity, not defiance. Adrián stares at her with a twisted smirk. Something dark flashes behind his eyes. Then he releases Isabella's hand and walks toward Valeria with the casual confidence of a man who believes nothing can threaten him in a room full of money and cameras. He stops only a few inches from her. The music fades into a thin, uncomfortable silence. "What are you doing here?" he murmurs, loud enough for several rows to hear. "Trying to make a scene, even at my wedding." Valeria steadies her breath. "I received an invitation. I thought you wanted peace." A few guests nod in sympathy. Her voice is soft, careful. She tries not to tremble. Adrián leans closer. "Peace? That is funny coming from you." She does not respond. Her hand instinctively shields her abdomen, an unconscious gesture every mother makes when danger approaches. The sight of it sends a quiet wave of discomfort across the room. Then Isabella joins them, gliding over like a swan, wearing a predator's smile. Her pure white mermaid gown shines under the lights. She tilts her head with mock innocence. "We did not expect you, Valeria, but you look lovely. Very brave of you to wear satin. It wrinkles so easily." Valeria tries to step back. Her heel catches slightly on the polished floor, and she steadies herself by placing a hand on the nearest chair. A guest whispers, "She is pregnant. Leave her alone." Adrián hears it. His jaw tightens. What happens next begins slowly, quietly. Nothing yet seems dangerous. He reaches toward Valeria with a long, steady movement, like a man brushing lint from someone's clothes. For a split second, she thinks he is adjusting her dress, maybe even saving her from further humiliation. But his fingers tighten around the fabric along her neckline. Time stops. The violinists freeze. A waiter holding champagne flutes stops walking mid-step. Dozens of phones lift higher. Valeria whispers, "Adrián, stop." He pulls. A violent tearing sound slices through the ballroom like a blade ripping satin. The midnight blue fabric gives way instantly. It splits downward across her chest and over her abdomen. The soft material wrinkles, twists, and rips open under the force. The motion jerks her body forward, and she gasps as her hand flies protectively to her stomach. The entire room erupts with horrified whispers. Someone screams, She is pregnant. Stop him. But Adrian is not finished. He grabs another section of the dress near her hip and yanks again, ripping an uneven diagonal tear that exposes the lining beneath. The dress that once hugged her baby bump with quiet elegance now hangs in shreds. Valeria clutches the torn edges together, but there is too much damage to hide. Her chest rises and falls in short, panicked breaths. Her knees shake. Her eyes fill with disbelief. Not just from pain, but from the sheer cruelty of what he just did. You always needed attention, Adrian says quietly, but the microphones placed around the ballroom capture every word. Now, you have it. The guests remain frozen, unsure whether to intervene or watch the disaster unfolding like a train crash. Camera shutters click. Someone begins live streaming. The red recording dot gleams like a warning light in the dark. Valeria's breath grows sharper. The shock and fear tighten her abdomen. For a moment, she doubles over, one hand on her belly, the other holding the torn satin that threatens to fall completely. A doctor in the crowd whispers urgently, "Watch her. She might be contracting." Isabella steps backward, her expression caught between fascination and victory. The bride's perfect white gown glistens beside Valeria's ruined midnight blue dress. The contrast burns into every witness's memory. One woman looks like a queen, the other looks like prey. Valeria tries to stand upright but sways, her vision flickering. Someone rushes forward to offer a shawl, but Adrian blocks them with a raised hand. "Do not help her," he commands. "She came here to embarrass us. Let her enjoy the attention." The cruelty stuns the crowd. A soft cry escapes Valeria. She forces herself upright and meets Adrian's eyes. Her voice shakes. "You are hurting the baby." He laughs under his breath, a small, cold sound. "Your drama never ends." The guests finally break their silence. Murmurs rise. A woman near the front row shouts, "Call security. This is assault." Another voice adds, "She needs a hospital." Valeria tries to walk away, but her dress tangles around her legs. She nearly collapses, grabbing a table for support. Crystal glasses topple and shatter. The sound echoes like breaking bone. Someone yells, "Stop recording and help her." Someone else replies, "No, keep recording. He needs to answer for this." Valeria feels the room spinning. Heat crawls across her face. She closes her eyes and for a moment wishes the cameras would disappear, but they do not. The ballroom is now a stadium. Hundreds of eyes pinned on her like an audience watching a public execution. Adrian steps closer. His shadow falls across her torn dress. He whispers, "Now leave, before you ruin my wedding." She looks up, trembling, and realizes something important. The humiliation is complete. He did not simply want her gone. He wanted her destroyed. A sudden wave of dizziness forces her to clutch her belly. Guests gasp. A glass falls from someone's hand. The room vibrates with panic. And in that suffocating silence, Valeria's knees finally give out. She collapses to the floor of her ex-husband's wedding, holding the shredded satin against her body. The music long gone. The ballroom lit with hundreds of flashing lights, capturing her pain forever. The cameras do not blink, and the world is about to see everything. The ballroom, moments earlier filled with music and careless joy, now feels like a vacuum. Every sound has been sucked out. Only the echo of Valeria's fall hangs in the air, vibrating through the marble floor. Her midnight blue satin dress, torn and hanging in twisted pieces, pools around her like a wilted flower crushed underfoot. Guests who came to witness a fairy tale now stand frozen inside a nightmare they cannot process. No one moves at first. It is the kind of silence that cuts skin. The chandeliers still flicker above her, but even their light seems to dim, as if ashamed of what they now illuminate. Isabella's wedding bouquet trembles in her hand. Adrian stands above Valeria, with a stiff jaw, and an expression that masks panic with arrogance. No one knows who will speak first. No one knows who dares. A wine glass clinks softly somewhere in the distance, a fragile sound that breaks the paralysis. Then the whispers begin, low at first, then sharp, spreading like wildfire. She could lose the baby. Did he really rip her dress like that? Someone should call for help. My God, look at her. Valeria lifts her head slowly. Her hair has fallen over her shoulders, strands sticking to her cheeks where tears have smeared her makeup. She can barely breathe. The shock radiates through her body, tightening her chest, tightening her abdomen, tightening everything, until she feels like she might break in half. She presses her palm to her belly in a desperate attempt to steady herself. A middle-aged woman near the front row finally takes a step toward her, but before she can reach out, Adrian lifts his hand, stopping her with a simple gesture of authority. His voice is sharp and dismissive. "Stay back." She is exaggerating, like always. The woman recoils, stunned by his boldness. Valeria tries to speak, but the words dissolve in her throat. All she manages is a quiet plea. "Please, I need to sit up." She attempts to push herself upward, but her torn satin dress catches under her knee, pulling tight across her legs. The motion sends another ripple of pain across her abdomen. She gasps, and several guests flinch as if the sound physically struck them. The violinists in the corner, still clutching their instruments, exchange horrified glances. One whispers, "She is not acting. Look at her color." Another voice rises behind the crowd. "Is her breathing normal?" Someone else answers, "No, she is pale. Too pale." Isabella steps closer, though she keeps herself a safe distance from Valeria, her pristine white gown untouched by the chaos beneath her. She tilts her head with a soft, poisonous sweetness. "She is doing this for attention. She always wanted to ruin our days, even before the divorce." The cruelty is so shameless that it freezes the room a second time. Valeria's lips tremble. She lifts her face enough to meet Isabella's eyes. There is no anger in her expression, only a deep hurt that makes several guests look away. Tears cling to her lashes. "I did not come here to ruin anything," Adrian interrupts with a scoff. "Then why show up at my wedding, looking like this, acting like this?" A man near the aisle mutters loudly, "She looks like someone who was assaulted." The word hits Adrian and Isabella like a slap. Their expressions shift, not out of guilt but out of fear. Fear of the implications, fear of the witnesses, fear of the hundreds of camera phones still raised. Adrian forces a cold smile. "This is ridiculous. She fell on her own. 20 people saw him rip her dress. Another 10 caught it on video. Everyone knows he is lying. Yet no one steps forward. Not yet. Not while the groom still controls the room with his wealth and influence." Valeria tries again to lift herself, but her strength fails. Her palm slips on the marble floor, and she collapses forward. A soft cry escapes her lips, thin and desperate. Her belly tightens again, and the pain spreads in waves along her lower abdomen. Someone in the audience whispers frantically, "That could be preterm contractions. She needs a doctor." The temperature in the ballroom seems to rise. Sweat beads on Adrian's forehead as he notices the shift in the room. His command is slipping. Control is slipping. The story is slipping. A waiter, barely older than 20, steps forward despite the groom's authority. His voice trembles but carries the clarity of simple human instinct. "She needs help. She is pregnant. This is not right." Adrian turns on him like a wolf. "Stay out of this." But the boy does not move. His hands shake. His eyes shift from Valeria to the torn fabric and then back to her small, pained breaths. Something in him refuses to obey. The silence that follows is thick with tension. Valeria's vision blurs. The golden chandeliers above her stretch into soft halos. She can hear her heartbeat in her ears, fast and uneven. Her fingers press deeper against her stomach. She whispers to herself, a voice so tiny it barely exists, "Please, stay with me, please." The plea is not for herself. It is for her baby. Several women near the center rise from their seats. They approach her slowly, unsure if Adrian will lash out again. One kneels beside her, ignoring the groom completely. "Sweetheart, look at me. Can you hear me? Is the pain sharp or tight?" Valeria nods weakly. "It is tight. It hurts." Someone gasps. Another person whispers, "She is having contractions." Isabella scoffs loudly. "Oh, please, what a performance." The crowd turns on her. Faces harden. Murmurs sharpen. In a matter of seconds, the bride becomes the villain in her own wedding. Adrian steps toward Valeria again. The women surrounding her instinctively shield her with their bodies. He stops, stunned by their defiance. His voice cracks with anger. "Move. She does not need you." A man from the back seats calls out, "She clearly does, and she needs an ambulance." Another guest stands, then another. A subtle shift moves across the room, like a tide rising. The groom's power is slipping away, grain by grain. Valeria tries once more to sit upright. Her hand reaches for the edge of a nearby chair, but misses. The room sways. Her breathing grows rapid. For a moment, she feels like she is floating outside her own body, watching her dignity scatter across the marble floor like the shattered crystal around her. Someone presses a cool hand to her shoulder. "You are not alone. Help is coming." But help is not here yet. Not the real help. Not the one that will change everything. The silence thickens again. Guests look toward the entrance as if drawn by an invisible signal. Something is about to happen. Something heavy and irreversible. And in that suspended moment, Valeria feels another sharp tightening in her abdomen. She grips the torn satin and lets out a sound that tears through the room, stronger than the ripping fabric ever did. It is the sound that finally breaks the wedding. And it is the sound that announces the storm that is coming for Adrian Rivera. The ballroom is still trembling from Valeria's cry when Adrian forces himself forward, trying to reclaim the authority slipping from his fingers. His polished shoes click sharply against the marble floor, each step echoing like a warning. Guests instinctively pull back from him, forming a crooked path that leads straight to the woman he once vowed to protect. Perhaps he does not notice their recoil. Perhaps he does not care. His face is tight with irritation rather than guilt, the expression of a man more offended by a disruption to his event than by the suffering of the woman he harmed. He stops only a foot from her. Valeria lies partially supported by two guests, her midnight blue dress hanging in torn ribbons around her trembling frame. Her breathing is uneven. Her hand remains pressed against her belly. She cannot hide the pain anymore, and she should not have to. But Adrian sees only an inconvenience. "Enough," he announces loudly, his voice booming across the ballroom. "She is fine. She is exaggerating. She always does this when she wants attention." The crowd reacts instantly. Some gasp. Others shake their heads. A few exchange looks of disbelief. The lie is so brazen that even those who once admired him feel a crack in the illusion. The groom is unraveling. Adrian lifts his hands in a gesture meant to appear calm, but the tremor in his fingers betrays him. She fell, that is all. No one touched her. A man from the left side speaks up. "We saw you rip her dress." Adrian snaps his gaze toward him. "You misunderstood what you saw," another voice calls out. "I recorded it." Silence hits harder than the statement itself. Adrian freezes. His eyes dart toward the cluster of guests holding phones. Dozens of screens reflect his face back at him, cold and incriminating. The panic that flickers behind his eyes is brief, almost invisible, but the room feels it. Still, he doubles down. "You people do not understand. That was not an assault. I was helping her adjust her dress. She stumbled. The fabric tore on its own." The absurdity is almost unbelievable. Guests stare in a mixture of disgust and shock. Someone mutters loudly enough for others to hear. If that is adjusting, then gravity must be adjusting too. Valeria lifts her head. Her vision is hazy, but her hearing is sharp. Every lie cuts through her like glass. She gathers what strength she can and whispers, "Why are you doing this? You know what happened." Her voice is soft, but the room falls silent to hear her. Adrian leans down slightly, lowering his tone as if speaking to a child throwing a tantrum. "You are embarrassed. I understand. But do not make this into something it is not." Valeria's eyes widen, not from fear, but from the realization that he truly believes his power will protect him from consequences. He expects the world to bend around his version of events. He always has. A woman kneeling beside Valeria stares at him with pure disbelief. She is pregnant. She is clearly in pain. Show some humanity. The groom straightens, adjusting his tuxedo jacket with a sharp tug. Humanity. Interesting word coming from strangers who do not know the situation. Someone near the back shouts, "We know enough." The tension cracks again, tighter and sharper than before. Adrian realizes he is losing control of the narrative, so he switches tactics. His voice softens, coated with false sympathy. "Valeria, let me help you up. Come on, you need fresh air." But when he reaches toward her, several guests move at once, blocking him. A wall of bodies rises between him and the woman he hurt. The gesture is instinctive, protective, and devastating to his ego. His expression darkens. "Move! She is my ex-wife. I have every right to speak to her." The waiter from earlier steps forward again. His face is pale but determined. "You lost that, right when you ripped her dress." A sudden murmur of agreement spreads across the room. Adrian's jaw clenches so hard, the muscle twitches along the edge. He glares at the young waiter, as if the boy's very existence offends him. "Watch your mouth." But the boy does not back down. Neither do the guests around him. The power dynamic of the entire wedding has shifted. The groom is now the outsider. Valeria exhales shakily. Her abdomen tightens again. The pain radiates downward like a warning. One of the women supporting her touches her forehead gently. "You are sweating. We need to check your pulse." Valeria nods weakly. It is fast. Too fast. Her voice trembles, but carries enough clarity to draw more attention. A doctor pushes through the crowd. He kneels beside her, checking her pulse, assessing her breathing, pressing lightly on her abdomen. His expression tightens. This could be stress-induced contractions. She needs to be monitored immediately. Adrian lets out a harsh laugh. "She is not contracting. She is trying to ruin my wedding. She always had a flair for dramatic entrances." The doctor looks up at him sharply. "I am a certified obstetrician, and you need to step back. Right now." The authority in his tone slices clean through the lingering doubt in the room. Several people nod in agreement. A few guests even clap softly, relieved someone finally said what needed to be said. But Adrian does not retreat. He takes a half step forward, still clinging to the fantasy that he commands the room. "You do not tell me what to do at my own wedding." "It stopped being your wedding," a woman near the aisle says, her voice trembling with anger. "The moment you assaulted a pregnant woman." The word lands again. Assault. It roots itself in the air with undeniable weight. Adrian feels it. He hears the cameras. He sees the faces around him hardening. He snaps back. "I did not assault her. She provoked me. She should not have been here in the first place." The doctor interrupts. "Nothing justifies endangering a pregnancy." Valeria's breath hitches again. A sharp pain seizes her abdomen, and she curls forward instinctively. The doctor immediately steadies her. "That is it. She is not safe here." Someone in the crowd finally shouts what everyone has been thinking. "Call the police." The ballroom erupts into new chaos. Voices rise. Phones dial emergency services. People push toward the exits to clear space. The groom's family looks horrified, not by Valeria's suffering, but by the public spectacle now attached to their name. Adrian stares around in disbelief. His wedding, his image, his carefully curated life is collapsing right in front of him. And the worst part is that he still believes he can salvage it. He lifts his chin and declares loudly, "Do whatever you want. None of you understand the truth." But the truth is already in the room. It is in the videos. It is in the witnesses. It is in the sound of tearing satin echoing through a ballroom that will never forget it. It is in the silence that follows his words, a silence colder and heavier than anything the wedding has heard so far. The silence that arrives right before everything finally turns against him. The ballroom feels heavier with every passing second, as if the very air is turning solid. The guests are no longer whispering, they are watching. All eyes track the trembling rise and fall of Valeria's chest as she tries to steady her breathing. Her torn midnight blue satin dress clings to her skin in ragged pieces. The elegant woman who had walked through the doors only minutes earlier now looks like she has been dragged through a storm she never asked for. Her pain paints the room in a raw honesty no one can ignore. Someone near the back drops a fork. The small metallic sound is enough to break the stillness. The tension that follows is immediate. A dozen phones rise higher. Guests begin checking their screens, their faces shifting from confusion to shock to outrage. A young woman gasps loudly. "It is already online. Someone is streaming the whole thing." Within seconds, more screens light up. A middle-aged man mutters, "This clip has 20,000 views already. How is that even possible?" Another voice replies, "Because everyone just watched a groom assault his pregnant ex-wife at his own wedding." The words slice through the room like a blade. Adrian stiffens. His face drains of color. He turns toward the crowd and rasps, "Turn those off! This is private. You do not have permission to film." His command does nothing. No one listens. If anything, the cameras angle higher. One guest speaks calmly but firmly. You made it public the moment you laid hands on her. Valeria curls inward as another wave of pain grips her abdomen. The doctor kneeling beside her checks her pulse again. His expression darkens. She is under extreme stress. We need to get her out of here. But before anyone can move her, a notification chime echoes across the ballroom. Then another. Then a dozen more. The viral spread hits like a shockwave. People stare at their phones as headlines begin populating social media in real time. CEO assaults pregnant woman at luxury wedding. Groom rips ex-wife's dress in front of hundreds. Violence caught on camera during high-profile ceremony. Screens flash across the ballroom like lightning. Isabella covers her mouth in disbelief. For the first time since Valeria entered, the bride looks afraid. Not for Valeria, but for herself. Adrian tries again. You are all overreacting. The video is being misinterpreted. A young man near the aisle lifts his phone higher and states with icy clarity, "It shows exactly what happened. There is no misinterpretation." Adrian lunges toward him. "Give me that." Several guests immediately step between them. The groom halts, staring at the barrier of strangers who now stand united against him. His authority shatters with the realization that he no longer controls the room. Not the narrative, not even the event bearing his name. Valeria tilts her head upward, her eyes glossy with pain but still searching for breath. She tries to speak, but her voice comes out in fragments. "Please, someone help me sit up. I cannot breathe." The doctor tries to adjust her position. As he lifts her shoulders slightly, fresh tears spill down her cheeks. Her whole abdomen tightens again. The contractions are not regular, but they are strong enough to terrify everyone watching. The doctor looks around urgently. "We need the ambulance now," a waiter replies from the corner. "It is already on the way." The ballroom has become a pressure cooker. Every second feels like it might explode. Guests retreat from Adrian and Isabella as if the couple carries a contagion. The luxurious decorations now look absurd in contrast to the suffering unfolding at the center of the room. A woman with a floral dress whispers, "I cannot believe he did that," on her, and she is carrying his child. Another responds, "No wonder she left him. Imagine what she endured in private." The rumors begin to swell, shaping themselves into truths that sting sharper than any headline. Adrian hears it all. His breathing grows tight. Anger pulses beneath his skin, but it is overshadowed by panic. He keeps glancing toward the camera crews lingering at the ballroom doors, called by the flood of online views. He hisses at Isabella, "Fix your face, we need to stay calm." But Isabella shakes her head. Her voice trembles. "This cannot be happening. My father is going to see this. The press. Everyone." Adrian snaps. "It is not my fault she showed up looking for drama." The room erupts in outrage. At the same time, Valeria's body gives way again. Her hand slips off her belly. Her head drops forward. Her breathing becomes shallow. The doctor's voice rises urgently. "Stay with me. Look at me. Keep your eyes open." Valeria tries, but her eyelids flutter. The pain surges again, deeper and heavier, as if her own body is begging her to get away from this place. She gasps. "It hurts. It hurts too much." A woman kneeling beside her whispers, "Stay with us. You are not alone. Help is coming." But help is still minutes away. Minutes feel like hours inside a collapsing wedding. A phone chimes again. Then another. Guests recoil as yet another headline spreads. Court records reveal protective order filed weeks before wedding. Valeria hears that one. Her eyes widen slightly. Fear, humiliation, and exhaustion flicker together. She never wanted the world to know she had filed for protection. She never wanted her private suffering exposed like this. But now everything is pouring out. The truth is flowing faster than anyone can stop it. Adrian looks furious. "This is lies. She made those papers up to punish me." The doctor snaps back. "Enough. She is in medical distress. You need to step away." Adrian refuses. "I am not leaving her side." A voice booms from across the ballroom. "You should have thought of that before you ripped her dress." Every guest turns toward the entrance, but no one arrives yet. That moment is still coming. Before it happens, the tension reaches its breaking point. Valeria tries to push herself up again. Her body shakes violently. The doctor steadies her, but even he cannot hide his worry. She whispers, "Please, I want to go. I cannot stay here." He nods quickly. "We are getting you out. Just breathe. In and out." Her hands tremble. The torn satin slips between her fingers. The humiliation burns across her skin more fiercely than the pain. And then her body folds inward. Her head drops onto the doctor's shoulder. The room erupts with cries of alarm. Someone yells for ice. Someone else calls for space. The doctor raises his voice above the chaos. She is losing consciousness. "Move back. Now." The ballroom bursts into movement. Chairs are pushed aside. People scramble to clear an exit path. The viral recordings continue, catching every frantic second. Adrian stands at the center of it all, helpless and furious, watching his entire world unravel like the satin he ripped apart. And just as Valeria slips deeper into the haze, the doors swing open again. What comes next will decide everything. The lies have collapsed, and the truth is walking in. The ballroom doors swing open with a force that cuts through the chaos like a blade. The sound is not loud, but it carries a weight that commands attention. Guests turn at once. Conversations die mid-sentence. Even the paramedics rushing down the hallway pause for half a breath. Something changes in the air, a shift so sharp and immediate that even Adrian feels it. A tall man enters the ballroom. His suit is a deep navy blue that seems to absorb the chandelier light, and his polished shoes echo with slow, deliberate steps. His presence does not shout, it radiates. Authority moves with him like a shadow. His gaze sweeps across the room, taking in the scattered chairs, the shattered glass, the torn midnight blue satin around Valeria's trembling body, and the panic twisting across every face. It takes only a second for the guests to recognize him. Javier Morales, the criminal defense attorney who has dismantled empires in courtrooms, the man whose face appears on national broadcasts whenever a high-profile case breaks, the cousin who vanished quietly from Valeria's life after the divorce, not because he abandoned her, but because she told him she needed space until she felt safe again. He is here now, and he looks far from calm. His eyes lock on Valeria, half-conscious on the marble floor, held up by the doctor and several guests. Her hair spills over her shoulders. Her breathing is shallow. Her midnight blue satin dress hangs in ruined strips around her body. Rage flickers in Javier's eyes, not loud or wild, but controlled, lethal, and cold. He walks directly to the center of the room. Each step tightens the tension even more. Adrian turns to face him, masking fear behind irritation. "What are you doing here?" Adrian demands. "This is a private event." Javier does not bother responding to the statement. His voice cuts through the air with sharp clarity. "Valeria, can you hear me?" She lifts her head slightly, her eyelids fluttering. "Javier, please, it hurts." He kneels beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. His tone softens for only her. "I am here. You are safe now." Then he stands, and the softness disappears. His voice hardens into steel. "Who touched her?" A tremor runs through the crowd. Eyes shift toward Adrian. No one speaks, but the silence itself answers. Adrian scoffs. "Do not start with your theatrics." She fell. She exaggerated the entire thing. Javier steps closer, not aggressively, but with a confidence that pulls the oxygen from the room. "I watched the video on my way here." Adrian's face drains of color. Javier continues, his voice calm, almost quiet, yet terrifying in its certainty. "You ripped the dress off a pregnant woman. Then you stood over her while she could not breathe." Gasps ripple across the room like rolling thunder. Adrian tries to laugh, but the sound cracks. People record everything these days. They love twisting things. You know how the internet works. "I do," Javier says. And in this case, it recorded the truth. He reaches into the inner pocket of his suit and pulls out a folded document. Guests lean forward, drawn to the moment like moths to flame. Javier holds it up. "This is the temporary protective order Valeria filed 3 weeks ago, signed by Judge Molina, effective immediately. It forbids you from contacting her, approaching her, or placing her under emotional or physical distress. Every guest freezes. Javier steps even closer. Right now, in front of hundreds of witnesses and dozens of cameras, you violated every single condition. Adrian's voice cracks. She set me up. Javier looks at him with an expression that could shatter stone. She did not set you up. She survived you. A collective gasp sweeps through the ballroom. The doctor rises to stand beside Javier. She needs to get to the hospital now. She is having dangerously irregular contractions. Javier nods once without breaking eye contact with Adrian. You will not go anywhere near her again. Adrian sputters. I can explain all of this. She came here to ruin my wedding. She knew what she was doing. Javier answers coldly. She came because your family lured her with a false invitation. The bride, Isabella, flinches visibly. The crowd now stares at her. Her perfect white gown suddenly looks like a costume worn by someone who has lost control of her script. Javier lowers his voice, but his words strike harder than any shout. This is no longer a wedding. This is a crime scene. The bride lets out a shaky breath. Javier, you are making this worse. Please, let us settle this quietly. Quietly, Javier repeats, as if tasting the absurdity of the word. You want quiet after you watched him tear the dress off his pregnant ex-wife. Her face crumples. Her voice shakes. I did not think he would actually do it. Adrian snaps at her. You wanted this as much as I did. Do not pretend now. The admission hits the room with brutal force. Someone gasps. Someone else whispers, she knew. The tension ignites all over again. Javier turns away from them. He kneels beside Valeria once more and touches her arm gently. The ambulance is here. You will be okay. She whispers, I want to go. Please, get me out. He nods again. I am not leaving you. Paramedics hurry inside with a stretcher. The crowd parts without a word. Cameras record every movement. The entire ballroom is trembling with the knowledge that nothing can be undone. As they lift Valeria carefully onto the stretcher, she winces in pain. Her fingers clutch Javier's sleeve. He leans in so she can hear him clearly. This ends tonight. You will never face him alone again. And with that, Valeria is carried out of the ballroom. The doors close behind her. All that remains is the echo of her suffering, and the inevitable fall of the man who caused it. The moment Valeria disappears through the ballroom doors on the stretcher, a heavy silence falls over the wedding. It is not the silence of shock anymore. It is the silence of judgment. A silence that coils around the chandeliers, slithers across the polished floor, and settles around Adrian's shoulders like a noose waiting to tighten. Every guest is watching him now. Every phone is still recording. Every whisper is a verdict sharpening into a blade. Javier remains standing in the center of the ballroom, his navy suit absorbing the harsh glow of the lights. His presence alone shifts the atmosphere. He is not yelling. He does not need to. His voice carries the weight of law, of consequence, of truth. No one can escape. His eyes never leave. Adrian, you assaulted a pregnant woman, Javier says, his tone slow and razor-sharp. Then you violated a protective order, and you did it in front of hundreds of witnesses. Adrian flinches as if each word strikes his skin. He tries to regain his composure. He straightens his tuxedo, lifts his chin, and forces out a laugh that cracks halfway through. Everyone is exaggerating. You are all being dramatic. It was a misunderstanding. Someone in the crowd fires back immediately. We saw you. That was no misunderstanding. Another voice follows. She was begging for help. A third. Her dress was shredded. You ripped it. The comments snowball, building into a chorus of outrage. Adrian turns in circles, looking for support, but finds only faces twisted in disgust. Even the groom's side of the family shifts uncomfortably, avoiding his eyes. His own cousins step back from him, creating a small ring of emptiness around his feet, as if the floor itself no longer wants to hold him. Adrian tries again. You do not know Valeria. She lied to all of you. She makes everything seem worse than it is. Javier steps forward. The video shows exactly what it was. You tore the dress off her. You put her under medical risk. And now she is on her way to the hospital because of you. The tension spikes. Several women near the front row burst into angry muttering. A man in a silver suit raises his voice and points at Adrian. "If that were my wife or my sister, I would have knocked you flat on this floor." A wave of agreement ripples through the room. Adrian's face reddens with humiliation. Javier lifts a microphone from a nearby podium. The sound of feedback hums briefly across the ballroom. Every guest falls silent, their eyes snapping toward him. He speaks calmly, but the amplification turns his voice into a force that fills every corner of the massive room. Let me make this clear. Under Spanish law, Article 153, aggression toward a pregnant woman is an aggravating circumstance that elevates the charge. Combined with the violation of a protective order, this becomes a criminal offense with immediate legal consequences. The bride, Isabella, staggers backward. "Javier, please, not in front of everyone." He turns to her with a gaze that is neither soft nor cruel. It is simply factual. This is not about embarrassment. This is about accountability, and the world is already watching. A guest shouts, "The world has been watching since the first live stream." Another holds up his phone. 2 million views. Another echoes, 3 million. Adrian's eyes widen. He looks like a man realizing he is standing in the middle of a battlefield he can no longer control. "Fine, I will deal with the press. I will release a statement." Javier answers, "You will not control this narrative anymore. The facts are already out." Still clinging to his ego, Adrian snaps back. "You think you can destroy me with one video?" Javier shakes his head. "No, you destroyed yourself." A thunderous murmur fills the room. Cameras flash. Someone applauds. It starts as a single clap, hesitant and almost uncertain. Then another joins, and another. Within seconds, dozens of guests are clapping, not in celebration but in solidarity with Valeria. The sound rolls over the ballroom like a wave of judgment. Adrian's face twists in rage. "Stop clapping! Stop immediately!" The clapping only grows louder. Isabella covers her face, mascara beginning to smudge. "This is a disaster," she whispers to a bridesmaid. "My father is going to kill me." The bridesmaid steps away from her, unwilling to be associated with the imploding spectacle. Javier lifts the microphone again. "The authorities have been notified. They will arrive shortly to take statements. I advise everyone here to remain calm and prepare to submit your videos and testimonies." Adrian steps forward angrily. "You have no right to take over my wedding." "It stopped being your wedding," Javier replies, "the moment you turned it into an assault." The words hit harder than the first. Isabella tries to regain control. "Maybe we can fix this. Maybe if Valeria apologizes for the scene she made and clarifies that she fell." The ballroom erupts with outrage. A woman from the groom's side shouts, "She did not fall. Your husband ripped her dress." A man fires back. "She almost fainted because of him." Isabella trembles. "I did not think he would actually hurt her." Javier states calmly, "Intent is irrelevant. He did hurt her." Adrian tries one last weak defense. "I love Isabella. Everything I did was for us." The crowd groans. Someone shouts, "That is not love. That is control." The room hums with a charged energy, the kind that precedes irreversible consequences. Guards at the ballroom entrance step forward as police sirens echo faintly from outside. The sound draws everyone's attention. Javier lowers the microphone. There they are. Time to face the truth. Adrian stands frozen. His confidence melts. His arrogance crumbles. The fortress he thought he built with money and image now collapses under the weight of his own actions. And when the first officer steps inside the ballroom, the entire wedding collectively exhales, as if a single breath has been held for far too long. Justice has arrived, and there is nowhere left for Adrian to hide. The officers enter the ballroom with calm, controlled steps, but their presence detonates something inside the guests. Every conversation shatters into frantic murmurs. Phones lift higher, screens glow brighter. If the wedding had felt like a battlefield before, now it becomes a courtroom, and the crowd transforms into a jury made of hundreds of furious witnesses. Adrian takes a small step back. For the first time all night, he looks smaller. His tuxedo, once pristine and commanding, now seems too tight, trapped by sweat and fear. The officers approach him, but they do not speak yet. They are observing, assessing. Their eyes move from the shattered glasses to the torn satin on the floor, then to the guests, who still wear shock like fresh wounds. Javier stands tall near the center of the room. His presence anchors the chaos. When the lead officer signals for him to speak, he steps forward with a calm that carries more power than any shout. There are hundreds of witnesses here, dozens of recordings. A pregnant woman left this ballroom with medical distress, and the man responsible is standing right there. Gasps ripple outward. The officers nod. One takes a small recorder from his belt. Adrian finally cracks. Responsible? You are twisting this. She came here to cause trouble. She humiliated me in front of my family. She wanted this spectacle. A woman in a green dress shouts, "You ripped her dress off." A man adds sharply, "You stood over her while she was in pain." A voice from the back echoes, "You told people not to help her." And suddenly, the room ignites with one accusation after another. She begged you to stop. She could barely breathe. You tried to lie even when she collapsed. You called her dramatic while she was contracting. Every voice grows louder, stronger, more certain. In the span of a minute, the crowd becomes an unstoppable wave of truth crashing down on him. Adrian swallows hard. His hands shake. "All of you are overreacting. You are acting like you know what happens between us. You do not." Javier steps closer, his expression unreadable but heavy with restrained fury. "We do not need to know everything. We only need to know what we saw. And what you did was not a mistake. It was violence." The officers exchange a look. One begins taking statements. Another collects phones from volunteers who willingly hand them over with trembling fingers. It is not revenge. It is relief. The relief of finally being able to expose something that should never have been hidden. Meanwhile, the social media storm outside the ballroom continues growing like wildfire. Guests keep refreshing their screens in disbelief. 4 million views. 5 million. It is on the national news. My God, this is everywhere. A reporter who managed to slip past security stands near the entryway. His camera is already rolling. Adrian spots him and explodes. "Turn that off! I did not give you permission to film me." The reporter responds calmly, "You lost control of that when you assaulted your ex-wife." Adrian lunges forward, but an officer steps between them. "Sir, keep your hands to yourself." The force of the command stops him cold. Sweat beads on his forehead. His breathing grows shallow. He looks around desperately for support, but his own parents stare down at the floor. His friends edge away. Even Isabella, the bride he thought would stand by him, is trembling near the corner, mascara streaking down her face as she whispers into her phone, "Papa, everything is falling apart, everything." Javier glances toward her but says nothing. She is part of this, and the consequences will find her in their own time. The officer finally addresses Adrian directly. "Sir, we need your version of events." Adrian straightens his posture, clinging to the last threads of dignity. "Fine, I will explain. She provoked me. She showed up uninvited. She tried to ruin my wedding." The officer asks, "And you responded by ripping her dress." "That is not what happened," Adrian insists. "The fabric tore because she pulled away." A guest shouts, "Liar!" Another cries, "We saw your hands on her." The officer raises his hand, silencing the room. "We have sufficient testimony to continue this investigation." Someone in the crowd whispers, "He is done." Someone else answers, "He brought this on himself." The weight of those words hits Adrian harder than anything the officers have said. His face twists with fury and humiliation. His voice fractures. "You are all judging me without knowing the full story." Javier responds quietly, "The full story will come out, starting tonight." The officers motion for Adrian to step aside for further questioning. His panic becomes visible, his movements jerky, his voice wavering. "This is my wedding. You cannot do this here." The officer replies, "Your actions turned it into a crime scene." The room erupts again. Not with chaos this time, but with the grim certainty that justice has finally begun its work. People step away from Adrian as if he is radioactive. The lights feel harsher. His tuxedo feels tighter. The cameras feel closer. And in the echoes of the room, one truth becomes painfully clear. The groom is no longer the center of this wedding. He is the villain of its downfall, and the world has already chosen a side. The moment the officers separate Adrian from the crowd, a new kind of silence settles over the ballroom. It is not the silence of fear now, it is the silence of justice tightening its grip. Guests watch with wide eyes as the man who once controlled every room he entered now stands trapped inside a circle of authority he cannot bully, charm, or buy his way out of. The lead officer begins speaking with calm precision. "Sir, we need you to stay where you are. Multiple witnesses have reported an assault. We are collecting evidence from the scene." Adrian's voice cracks. "Assault? That is absurd. I told you already." She fell. But the second officer steps forward, holding a phone handed to him by a guest. The video begins playing. The ballroom hears the ripping sound again. The gasp, the cry, the muffled begging, the unmistakable truth. The lead officer's expression hardens. We have visual confirmation. Adrian reaches for the phone instinctively, but the officer pulls it away. "Do not touch evidence." His breath quickens. His eyes dart wildly around the room, searching for someone, anyone, who might defend him. But every face watching is cold now, distant, done. Even the ones who used to admire him refuse to meet his gaze. The officer continues. "You are being detained for further questioning related to assault and violation of a protective order." Those words land like a hammer. Isabella gasps, covering her mouth with a trembling hand. "Detained? Here? In front of everyone?" A guest mutters, "Perfect timing. He did it in front of everyone." Another adds, "He deserves this." Meanwhile, down the hall, the paramedics rush Valeria through the hotel corridor. The bright hospital-style lights overhead flicker as the stretcher glides beneath them. Her breathing is shallow, her dress still torn, her hair clinging to her damp cheeks. The sound of the crowd fades behind her, replaced by the steady rhythm of paramedic voices. "Keep her conscious. Check her blood pressure again. She is having stress-induced contractions. We need to stabilize her." Valeria whispers, barely audible, "Please, my baby, just save my baby." A paramedic squeezes her hand gently. "We are doing everything we can. Stay with us." Back in the ballroom, Javier stands like a wall between Adrian and the guests. His tone is deadly calm. "She is on her way to the hospital because of you." Adrian laughs bitterly, his voice tinged with hysteria. "Because of me? She came here to make a spectacle. She wanted attention." Javier's eyes narrow. "She wanted closure. What you gave her instead was violence." The officers step closer. "Sir, we need to escort you outside." Adrian shakes his head violently. "No, I am not leaving my own wedding. I will not be dragged out like a criminal." But the crowd answers for him. A woman near the aisle says, "Then you should not have acted like one." A man adds, "Let them take him." The officers place a guiding hand near Adrian's arm. He jerks back, panicked. "Do not touch me." The lead officer's tone hardens. "Then walk, now." Adrian looks around the ballroom one last time. The chandeliers shimmer above him, reflecting not celebration anymore but disgrace. He sees no friendship, no loyalty, no sympathy, only judgment, only truth, only consequences. As he is escorted toward the exit, guests instinctively step away, leaving a clear path like the parting of a sea he no longer belongs in. Phones follow him. Cameras record every twitch of panic on his face. A reporter calls out, "Did you assault your ex-wife? Do you have anything to say about her condition?" Adrian snaps, "Get that camera out of my face." But the officer puts a hand on his shoulder and keeps him moving. Outside the ballroom, reporters swarm the corridor. Security struggles to hold them back, but headlines are already forming, like flames catching wind. CEO detained after assault at own wedding. Police question groom in shocking viral incident. Protective order violated in public event. The world is writing its story, and none of it is the story Adrian wanted. Meanwhile, the ambulance carrying Valeria speeds through the city streets. The siren wails in the night, bouncing off buildings and slicing through traffic. Valeria clutches the edge of the stretcher, her breaths short and desperate. The contractions pulse like waves growing stronger. "Stay with me," a paramedic repeats. "We are almost at the hospital." Her eyes blur. She sees Javier's face in her memory, steady and certain. She sees the ballroom spinning. She hears the ripping of satin again, the humiliation, the fear, the pain. A tear rolls down her cheek. I did not want him to hurt the baby. I did not want this. We know, the paramedic says. You are safe now. But safety is still minutes away. Minutes feel endless when a child's future hangs on each breath. Back at the hotel, Adrian is escorted through a side exit where police cars wait. His wedding is behind him. His empire trembles. His image is burning. A reporter shouts one final question. Do you regret what you did to Valeria? Adrian freezes. His throat works, but no words come. The officers place a hand on his back and guide him into the car. The door closes. The flash of cameras dims. And for the first time, Adrian realizes that the consequences he thought he could outrun have already caught him. Valeria is on her way to the hospital. He is on his way to questioning. The world has seen the truth, and the night is far from over. The police car carrying Adrian has barely turned the corner when the fallout begins. News vans swarm the hotel entrance like hungry predators, their antennas rising toward the sky. Reporters shout into microphones with breathless urgency, broadcasting updates every minute. Inside the ballroom, guests refresh their screens repeatedly, watching the world react in real time. What was a wedding an hour ago has become the nation's most explosive scandal. Within minutes, the first financial alert appears. A guest gasps and shows her phone to the people around her. His company's stock just dropped 5%. That fast. Another checks his tablet, eyes widening. 9% now. It is still falling. Rumors start circulating like wildfire. Investors are pulling out. Board members are calling emergency meetings. Corporate lawyers are drafting statements in panic. The empire Adrian spent years cultivating is dissolving like sugar in boiling water. Meanwhile, across the city, Javier steps into the hospital lobby with his jaw clenched and his phone buzzing relentlessly. He ignores every call except one, the chairman of Adrian's own board. The voice on the other end is furious. We just suspended him, effective immediately. This is catastrophic. Javier does not hide his satisfaction. Actions have consequences. Do you know how many contracts we are about to lose because of this video? The chairman demands. Half our partners want to distance themselves. This is a public relations disaster. It is a moral one too, Javier replies before ending the call. In the emergency ward, doctors rush Valeria into a monitoring room. Machines beep steadily as they track her heartbeat and the baby's. Her breathing is still shallow, but steadier than before. A nurse adjusts the blanket over her torn satin dress, careful not to disturb her. Valeria whispers, "Is my baby all right?" The doctor answers calmly, "The baby's heartbeat is strong. Your contractions are stress-induced. You need rest, hydration, and observation. You are safe now." Safe. The word feels unreal, but it warms her enough to soften her trembling. Tears slip down her temples. Tears not just of fear, but of release. Of surviving something she never should have had to endure. Back at the hotel, Isabella's father bursts into the ballroom, his face purple with rage. "Where is my daughter?" His voice booms across the room. Guests scatter. He finds her in a corner, mascara streaked, her perfect white dress rumpled. She tries to speak, but her father cuts her off. "Do you understand the humiliation you brought on our family?" His voice is low. Dangerous. This wedding has become a global disaster. She shakes her head, sobbing. "I did not know he would really hurt her. I did not expect it to go this far." Her father snaps. "Ignorance is not an excuse." He pulls out his phone, scrolling rapidly. "Our business partners are canceling deals. Sponsors are withdrawing. We are being dragged into his scandal." A bridesmaid whispers from behind, "Everyone is being dragged into it." Meanwhile, the viral video climbs from millions of views to tens of millions. News commentators dissect every frame. Lawyers debate charges on live television. Hashtags surge. Memes appear. Threads multiply. Public opinion grows more vicious by the minute. Inside a sleek boardroom miles away, 14 executives stare at a huge projection screen showing the trending video. The room is tense. Someone clears his throat. The shareholders want a vote. If we do nothing, the company could collapse. Another executive says bluntly, "We remove him, today." The motion passes unanimously. Adrian is officially ousted from his own corporation before he even arrives at the police station. Even worse, news follows. A major investor releases a public statement. "We condemn any act of violence. We withdraw all funding, effective immediately." The announcement shakes the financial world. Headlines erupt. Commentators declare that Adrian's career is over. The collapse of his empire is no longer a possibility. It is a certainty. At the hospital, Valeria lies quietly under soft white lights. The room feels too gentle for what she has just survived. She closes her eyes as exhaustion rolls over her, but her peace is fragile. A nurse approaches softly. "There is someone here who wants to see you." Valeria tenses. "Who?" Javier steps into the room. His expression softens when he sees her, but his jaw remains tight, with anger still burning beneath the surface. "How are you feeling?" She tries to smile. "Alive." He exhales slowly, as if releasing hours of held breath. "Good, because the world is finally seeing what he is. Everything is collapsing for him." Valeria's lashes tremble. "I did not want anyone destroyed. I just wanted him to stop." Javier sits beside her, his voice firm but gentle. "You did not destroy him. He destroyed himself, and no one can protect him from the truth now." In another part of the city, the police car carrying Adrian pulls into the station. He stares at the waiting cameras through the window. Reporters swarm like vultures. Microphones thrust forward. The officers open the door. He steps out. Flashbulbs explode. Questions fly. "Did you assault your pregnant ex-wife? Do you deny the video evidence? What do you say about your company firing you? Are you aware she is in the hospital under emergency care?" His face twists. His words stumble. His empire has crumbled before he ever understood the depth of his own cruelty. Back in the hospital room, Valeria places a hand on her belly as the baby's heartbeat echoes gently through the monitor. The world outside is burning. But here, in this quiet moment, she whispers a promise. "You are safe now. I am safe now." The consequences are no longer hers to bear. They belong to the man who tried to break her. And by dawn, every shattered piece of his life will remind him of the truth he tried to silence. The morning after the gala felt unreal. The city buzzed with headlines that echoed through every radio, every news channel, every glowing screen. Amelia's face appeared beside Ethan's mugshot as reporters recounted her fall, her disappearance, her miraculous survival, and the empire that had cracked open beneath the weight of truth. She watched only a few minutes before turning the television off. She did not need the world to tell her what she already knew. She had lived every second of the nightmare. She had earned every breath of this new dawn. By midday, she sat across from a detective in a quiet office. Gabriel waited outside with Emma, who was coloring in a small notebook. Amelia's hands were steady as she gave her statement. She spoke clearly, recounting the insurance policy, the recordings, the night at the cliffs, and the years of silence that had followed. She did not cry. She did not shake. She felt the weight of truth settle into place like a final puzzle piece, completing the picture no one could deny. When she finished, the detective leaned back, visibly moved. "You survived something most people never walk away from," he said, "and you came back to finish what he tried to end. You should be proud." Amelia nodded softly. "I did not come back for pride. I came back for my daughter." Outside the station, sunlight greeted her like a warm hand brushing her cheek. The air smelled clean, calm. Gabrielle lifted a hand in greeting, while Emma ran to her with wide, bright eyes. Mom, did the police catch the bad guy?" Amelia knelt down and gathered her daughter into her arms. "Yes," she whispered, "and he cannot hurt us anymore." It was the first time she said those words out loud. They tasted like freedom. Over the next few weeks, Ethan's world collapsed at a speed that stunned even those who had doubted him. His company cut ties, board members resigned, stockholders held emergency meetings. More victims of his manipulation came forward. Prosecutors stacked charges against him until even the most powerful attorneys refused to take his case. Attempts to smear Amelia only worsened his situation. Evidence kept surfacing, his lies unraveled thread by thread. In court, Ethan appeared smaller, thinner, his confidence stripped away. When Amelia took the stand, he refused to meet her eyes. The jury listened in stony silence as she recounted the night he pushed her. When the verdict was read, a shudder passed through the courtroom. Guilty, on all charges. Ethan closed his eyes as the sentence fell upon him. Years in prison. No chance of early release. No power to manipulate. No empire left to rule. No control over the woman he once believed he owned. As he was escorted away, Amelia felt no triumph, only closure. A door shutting behind her with a finality she had long needed. Selina received her own sentence, reduced only because she cooperated fully and exposed more of Ethan's schemes. She wept through the hearing. Amelia listened in silence. Forgiveness was not possible, but ending the cycle was. When it was finally over, Amelia walked out of the courthouse, with Emma holding one hand and Gabriel walking quietly on her other side. Cameras flashed, but she kept her gaze steady, focused on the future that waited beyond the noise. That evening, she drove toward the coast alone. She needed space. She needed breath. She parked near the cliff she had avoided for 6 long years. For a moment, she remained inside the car, gripping the steering wheel as old fear rose like a ghost inside her. But she forced the door open. She stepped onto the gravel. The wind pressed against her face. Cool, but no longer cruel. The ocean below roared, familiar and powerful. The waves crashed against the rocks, the same way they had the night she fell. She walked slowly toward the stone barrier, her heart pounding. She placed her hands on the rough surface and stared at the dark water that once swallowed her. She remembered the cold, the silence, the moment she thought she would never breathe again. And yet, she stood here now, alive, warm, steady, unbroken. She closed her eyes and whispered to the memory of the woman she used to be. You made it out. I came back for you. A small piece of jewelry glinted in her hand. A silver pendant she had worn years ago, the one she lost the night Ethan tried to kill her. It had washed back to shore months later, found by a fisherman and left anonymously at her door. She held it to her heart, then let it fall into the ocean gently. Not as a symbol of loss, but as a gesture of release. The wind softened. The sky brightened with the first pale glow of sunset. Amelia lifted her face to the light. She was not the woman who fell. She was the woman who rose. When she returned home, Emma ran into her arms. Gabriel smiled. Their small home felt safe, full, alive. Amelia exhaled deeply. Peace settled into her chest. The story that began with betrayal, fear, and darkness ended not with revenge, but with rebirth. She had reclaimed her life. She had carved a new path. She had found her place again. And as she tucked her daughter into bed that night, she whispered the truth she had fought so hard to earn. We are free.